Welcome, everybody. Hi there. This is Caroline Cummings, CEO of RAIN. Good to see you all and see some of your names. Please, you're welcome to put your video on. After your name, you can rename yourself, put your company name. You can also introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know what city you're located in. So your name, what organization you're with, and in the chat, if you want to introduce yourself and let us know what city you're joining from. Really excited to host this today with our amazing partners at Republic. Again, I'm Caroline Cummings, CEO of RAIN. Thanks for joining us today to learn about how to perfect your crowdfunding pitch. So we're going to start to get into the nitty gritty, and you're going to be able to get this will be a smaller group, so you'll get some good time to ask specific questions of the Republic team. We've got Michaela and Alex with us. But before we get started with the program, I'm excited to actually introduce Alicia Leduc. She is on the executive board for RAIN. She's our RAIN board treasurer, and she just wanted to send a little message to you guys today. So we're also recording this, by the way. I'll hand it over to Alicia. Thank you, Alicia.
Yeah, thank you, Caroline, and thank you everyone for being here today. Good afternoon. As Caroline mentioned, my name's Alicia Leduc. I'm an attorney with K&L Gates Law Firm in Portland, but we're a global law firm. And I'm in Oregon working mostly with boards and businesses, but I also strongly support entrepreneurs, judge pitch competitions, and love helping small businesses. So I'm here happy to share with you more about why I think crowdfunding really matters in helping to close that access to capital gap for founders and startups that may not qualify for traditional financing or traditional venture capital investment. And that reason's really personal. My sister helped start a business. She was employee number one for a Seattle startup, and she worked without pay for 6 months. What changed was she entered a pitch competition and lost. She entered another pitch competition. She practiced her pitch, knew her company and how to present it, and she won. She got a $10,000 prize, which was invested back into the company, although she also started getting a salary. From there, they were introduced to investors. They had much more opportunities and doors open to them. And just last month, they actually launched their first Atomo coffee cold brew product. She now has a full salary and stock benefits. And so it really hits home that perfecting your pitch, whether it's in person, but as we'll hear about today on the online platform, to a much larger group of potential audience people, can really help make the difference for your company. So, I mean, this is important because, as you know, and as we know, access to capital is a struggle for many entrepreneurs. We know 83% of entrepreneurs don't qualify for traditional bank loans or venture financing at the early stages when they're launching their business. And we know it has nothing to do a lot of times with the quality of their good ideas. It's, risk adverse folks or banks looking for more of a track record or more time of the business operating. But we need more of your good ideas in the world, and we need more of your businesses running. So this is so important to help fill the capital gap, especially in Oregon, for folks who need to raise about $50,000 to $250,000 and who don't qualify for that traditional bank loan or angel and venture funds. So the RAIN board is very excited to partner with the team at Republic to launch a customized crowdfunding platform. So if you know of Kickstarter, you may already be familiar with some of the basics of crowdfunding. This is specific to Oregon, and that will be launching this fall. We're very excited about this. And today's webinar is so that you can learn more about how to perfect your pitch and increase your chances of getting your deal accepted onto this platform, so that you have access to that potential market and with it customized towards Oregon businesses. And now this is just the first of several webinars that will be hosted. So you'll have some other educational sessions over the coming months, as well as you can help learn how to rally your crowd, leverage your network in your own backyard here in Oregon to learn how to invest in your businesses. So I know entrepreneurs like you who are creating the net new jobs in Oregon. So thank you for being here. Thank you for what you do. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Michaela to learn more.
Thank you, Alicia. And actually, I forgot, I wanted Anna on our team. Anna is our diversity, equity, and inclusion coordinator. She wanted to send a message today as well to our Spanish-speaking attendees.
Hola, bienvenidos a todos. Los invitamos a este primer webinar que vamos a tener de una serie para mejorar sus pitch para recolectar fondos. Nada, queremos darles la bienvenida y decirles que si se sienten más cómodos en participar en español, lo pueden hacer por el medio del chat o haciendo sus preguntas en español y nosotros nos encargaremos de traducirlas. Bienvenidos.
Gracias, Ana. Okay, now we are excited to turn it over to Michaela. And if you haven't already changed your name, rename yourself, put what your company name is, and let us know what city you're joining us from. Okay, thanks everybody. And I'm turning it over to Michaela from Republic.
Hey everyone, I'm Michaela. I'm from Republic, as everyone has said, sorry. I'm a senior associate with the investment team. So I work with businesses that are looking to raise capital and helping them kind of from the introductory process to see if crowdfunding is a fit for their business and for their needs, and also helping them through the diligence process to land on the structure of the investment and all the specific details that go along with the crowdfunding process. I'm going to share my screen now, pull up some slides. All right, let me know if you can see that. Perfect. All right, so today we're going to be, I guess, starting off with a quick overview of debt versus equity, critical question in your thought process as you're preparing for a fundraising in general, but specifically to crowdfunding as well. What Republic looks for in a deal. So this is kind of the diligence process and how you can really perfect your pitch as you're moving forward with this avenue. Is raising from the crowd right for you? How to rally your crowd and how to get help with your campaign and what's next. So at a high level, this is applicable to all fundraising, but also just really relevant to the diligence process that you'll go through for crowdfunding with Republic and through RAIN's platform. So debt financing, you're obviously going to be selling debt instruments to investors. You're going to have a set payment amount or a investment multiple, which we'll dive into more later, but essentially you're agreeing to an amount that you're going to pay back to investors over a certain amount of time, very similar to a traditional bank loan, mortgage, or car payment. And and we also have a little bit kind of a more flexible twist that we can offer through the platform that I'll dive into in a moment. And then equity financing. So you're actually going to be selling shares of your company, or what we also do on Republic is a SAFE, where it's simple agreement for future equity. And I will dive into that here. So the debt structures, we have two debt structures. The term notes, what I mentioned earlier, that's similar to a mortgage or a car payment. Every month you're going to pay back a set amount of principal plus interest to the investors for typically the maturity is about 48 to 54 months. The other option is a revenue sharing note. We have basically, we're going to still calculate an interest rate, but we will determine an investment multiple that you'll agree to pay back. For example, 1.5 times the amount borrowed, you're agreeing to pay back to investors over 48 to 54 months. And you'll pay that back as a percentage of revenue. This is really nice compared to bank loans because your payment amount is not fixed. It fluctuates with your revenue. So it gives a little bit of flexibility and allows for the payment amount to increase and decrease based on how much your company is doing on the revenue side. And then for equity, I just mentioned the CrowdSafe. This is a very common tool that companies will use, earlier stage companies typically, if you're in tech or a packaged good or something like that, where you're not going to be generating revenue in the near term, you might have to consider selling equity. The SAFE is a really nice tool, simple agreement for future equity. You're agreeing to or the investors are basically agreeing to a term, and they are ultimately going to be converted into shares at a later liquidity event or exit. And then you can also do preferred or common equity on the platform. And this is mostly important just because the diligence process will change. There are a few other requirements based on the structure that you're pursuing, but for the most part, there are definitely some common themes for all. So what we typically look for, these are not all inclusive by any means. These are just some kind of high level guidelines that we've seen have made campaigns the most successful when looking for fundraising from the general public. So team is really important. We look for dedication, diversity, location, charisma, experience, vision, track record, all of these things. They're all really important. I think you don't have to have all of them, but some of them can definitely be a compelling factor to the campaign. Obviously, having relevant experience to what your company is doing, if it's a brand new startup, or having that prior operating history with your company or with another company is really important. If it's not you, maybe it's a co-founder, maybe it's some advisory members of your board, or consultants, different things. So we definitely take a holistic approach to the diligence process as a whole. You don't have to check every single box, but all of these things can definitely help the messaging and help investors really feel the conviction that you're sharing as part of your growth plans, and ultimately decide to invest. Traction. So we do tend to see that companies with some traction are the most successful, at least on our platform and with our existing investor base. I think that pre-revenue companies, we've certainly supported them in the past, and they have been able to be successful, but in lieu of actual revenue, there might be some letters of intent or some purchase orders or something, large corporate partners, different things like that, that really show that there's a path to revenue and there's a path to meeting the objectives and goals that you outline as part of your campaign. Notable investors is another big thing that can really help the crowd, I guess, just have the messaging being validated by a notable investor or another investor group, accelerator, different things like that, that really say, okay, someone else has kind of validated this, and I feel confident in the team's ability to execute. Product. Is the problem or solution compelling? I think this depends on the market that you're in. Obviously, if there are a lot of competitors, then you really want to touch on your competitive advantage and how you're different and potentially more superior to the alternatives out there. So that can really be a big piece of it. Do you have that path to executing on delivering the product that you're promoting? All of that plays a really big role. Crowdfundability. So I think this is another piece. Republic's network and what Rain will be doing to promote the campaign to Oregon investors is a huge piece of it. We tend to fund 60 to 70% of every campaign, but it's always a team effort. And I think that what we've seen with campaigns, if you have that network or some immediate support system, community, customer base that can really start the process, get some initial funds in the campaign, then that really sends a strong message to the general public that's viewing the campaign that might not know you directly, that they're not the first dollar to invest. I think that that's a common fundraising problem, and it does kind of tend to remain true through crowdfunding. But yeah, just having your own customers or your own network coming in and doing that initial investment really allows us to build into that momentum and get the funding across the finish line. So we're going to talk about some of the things that we look for in due diligence. I think I touched on a lot of these things in the summary above, but we'll dive into all of these in a little bit more detail. So the business model, Obviously, that's important. We want to understand how the company makes or intends to make money, the plan to execute. I think business plans and pitch decks are just a critical thing. It's not, doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be 30 pages that you're presenting to Republic and Rain, but it is a really good exercise. I think it's just very important for any entrepreneur to have that really well mapped out to the best of your ability starting out before fundraising. Social impact is really big. We know that a lot of people that are investing in crowdfunding campaigns aren't necessarily just doing this for the financial return. They want to see the companies, they want to see companies that they want to, you know, purchase from. And I think that that's becoming more and more evident as time goes on, as we learn more about the impacts business can have on climate and economy and all of that. So social impact is a really big piece of it, and people love those types of stories. Market. So how large or disruptive can this business be? What advantages do they have over their competitors? I think we talked about this a little bit before, but definitely understanding what the potential is huge. And especially if you're selling equity, because these investors are coming in for the long haul. You know, they want to see that there is that path to succeeding and succeeding, especially in a more crowded marketplace. Technology. So obviously, if you do have a core part of your business is technology, that's a really important thing to outline and express to the investors why this is unique and why you have that advantage over other options. And team. So again, something we talked about, but I think it doesn't necessarily have to be the founders that check every single box, but among the team, among your advisors, among your board, finding that that these various skills are being are held within the team is definitely a compelling message to investors. Fact checking. So we will look, obviously we want to see that the information that you're presenting is accurate. So we'll just double check the numbers. So typically we'll ask for financial statements, projections to the best of your ability. And if there were any type of purchase orders or other things, we're not going to necessarily scrutinize every single detail, but at least just making sure that the picture is accurate. It isn't beneficial to anybody to go out with a campaign and presenting things that aren't true or just kind of misleading. I think that's something that we take very seriously. We do a lot to protect the investors, and we take pride in the companies that we're listing on the platform, and our investors have that trust in us to do, you know, that initial vetting. Terms. So terms is another big piece. I think there's a lot of different ways that you can go about this. Obviously, there's no perfect science to evaluation. It's something that a lot of businesses struggle with, but at least just having some idea of the structure that might make the most sense. We can certainly consult on that and provide some guidance. But if you are looking to raise equity, having an idea of the right valuation or valuation cap and that kind of method, the method that you use to arrive at that number. If you have other investors that are coming in that can really validate the terms outside of what Republic would do, but terms is definitely a key piece and something that we can continue to talk about as we get further along. Runway is another important factor. So obviously we want to make sure that businesses have the runway to survive during the campaign process. Campaigns can typically take a few months. So not only during the preparation phase, but while you're actually fundraising, we do have ways where you can withdraw some of the funds potentially through the time that the campaign is running, but we want to make sure that the business is stable and able to make it during that time. And then eligibility. There are certain eligibility requirements set by the SEC for regulation crowdfunding, which is the exemption that we use for this fundraising process. So companies do have to have, they do have to be a US-based business. They do have to have operations in the US. There are a couple ways that we are able to work with international companies. So if that is you, please don't feel discouraged. We're happy to talk about that in more detail, but typically you will see more US based companies, and founders do have to pass certain background checks and criteria. And then this is specific to debt offerings. We do like to see a credit score of typically 620 and higher. This can be a weighted average if there's multiple owners. This isn't necessarily black and white. Obviously, if there was any issues from medical related bills or things like that, we can certainly talk about it, but that's a standard benchmark. If you are looking to raise to move into a new space, we would like to see an LOI to launch or an executed lease. That's a letter of intent. A big piece of this is just making sure that what you're telling investors that you're fundraising for is actually happening. It's in the works, that you have these plans are somewhat firm as you're moving into this campaign process. So that's one thing that we'd like to see on certain projects. If you are considering debt, depending on the stage of the business, if it's a brand new business, for example, and you want to raise funds for that, we do like to see some equity coming from the owners. So we'll look to see at least 20% equity coming from the owners of the total project cost. And that's also in the business's best interest. We don't think that funding an entire project with 100% debt is necessarily the best way to go. So even that's something you'll see with SBA loans and other options as well. And blanket lien. So we do ask for a blanket lien to be filed for the business. So this is not personal. This is strictly to the entity, but it does provide some protection to the investors, and it's strictly related to the business's assets. And then I mentioned personal guarantee. This is not required, but it is something that's optional, and it could potentially reduce the interest rate for debt raises. Caroline, did you want to touch on this one?
Yeah, thanks, Michaela. Lots of great information. I want to encourage people to post questions in the chat or use the raise your hand feature. We want this to be interactive, which is why we reserved so much time with the Republic team. But really, it's sort of identifying whether or not this kind of fundraising, the crowdfunding, is right for you. And this is not like Kickstarter, right? That's like pre-purchase financing of product. This is, as you heard, there's debt and equity and different models within that. So first, for the platform that we're launching here in the next month or so, is your business actually headquartered in Oregon? You've actually incorporated, so you're an LLC, a C Corp, a B Corp, something like that. You cannot be a sole proprietorship and raise on the platform. So if you do want to raise on the platform, you can, I would recommend you go on the state's website and become a legal entity. If you're raising between 50 and 250, now 50 is the minimum, but you could raise a lot more. You could be raising $1 million, but it's going to be harder to rally the crowd to raise significant amounts like that unless you already have someone in mind who says, I'm willing to, step in and put the first 200 in or something like that. That's not going to be the common scenario with the companies that we're working with. You have a network who believes in you and your venture. And this is what you heard Michaela talking about earlier as well with the team, right? You're a believable team. When I was raising funds for my 2 startups, I had investors tell me, even after my first startup failed, they were like, what's your next venture going to be? We invest in people first, product second. So keep us posted on what you're doing next. It's a great place to be. And also you have some sweat equity invested into your own venture. This isn't something you're just starting. You've actually done something to be able to show that you have sweat equity in. You can fine tune your deal and your campaign, which is basically, attending this webinar. And shortly, you're going to hear about our intake process, which you could start today. At the end of this webinar, we're going to share an intake link for that. And then you commit to actually being mentored and supported by RAIN. Another thing that investors used to say, especially now that we're referring entrepreneurs to investors, one of the first questions they say is he or she coachable? Are they coachable? Because you could have the best idea and even be a good team, like well-balanced team with marketing and sales and development, but you're not coachable. And the folks who are not coachable usually have been told they're not coachable, or they've received different messages. That's not the folks on this call, because you guys are here because you want to learn. But just want to mention those things to make sure, like, is this the right type of fundraising for you?
Yeah, all great points. All right, let's go. Oops. All right, so that was basically the diligence process. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about building the campaign, things that we've seen to be really successful as part of the kind of marketing efforts. This is, like I said earlier, it's definitely, we want it to be a team effort between RAIN, between, you know, Republic's tools, and between what the company themselves are doing, that just leads to the most successful campaigns that we've experienced. So campaign video, this can be really important. Depending on the amount that you're looking to raise, we'll strongly encourage a campaign video. You can do this. It sounds like a lot, but a lot of companies that we've worked with have been able to pull this together with existing marketing content, or, you know, working with a friend or another contact. Republic, we have connections and vendors that we'd be happy to facilitate introduction, but I'm sure we can find some great folks in Oregon to support as well. But and we'll go through an example of a video, but people love visual messaging and this type of content. So we do see a lot of investors spending time watching videos on campaign pages. This isn't exactly in order, but we'll just kind of go through this, and then you can see the big picture come together in the next slide. But print collateral with QR codes, you can do business cards. Basically, every campaign, you're going to have this kind of custom link that you can share that'll be easy with your business name at the end. And then you can easily create a QR code. You can do business cards, table tents, posters, stickers, different things, put it on your receipt to really get that message out there with your existing customer base, or you know, just people in the community. Webinars is another thing that we've seen to be really successful. Republic can provide some support in this area, or, you know, it can be investor or RAIN hosted potentially. So just being able to talk to investors and answer questions can be really beneficial. Website promotion, so adding a call to action on your website, having, you know, a banner when you load page can be really helpful. Email is a great method to reach as many people as possible, as often as you'd like. We often see people setting up a drip campaign where you're sending a series of emails to people on your email list, whether that's customers or your private or professional network. And yeah, just finding any way to get the message out. Social media. So this is another awesome way to engage your network. So sharing updates and posting videos, talking about your campaign, just encouraging as many people as possible to come to the page. Discussion board is an awesome feature of every campaign. So investors can post questions and really engage directly with the entrepreneur. I think that this is something that we've seen to be really successful. Everybody loves to just have that personal touch and ask those questions, but this is an awesome way to keep it streamlined, funnel it all through one place. And investors do spend time just kind of reading through the prior questions and responses from the business. Campaign updates, so you can post updates on your campaign page, and investors or people that follow the campaign can be notified, which is really nice. It's just another way to touch as many people as possible. A lot of investors can potentially follow the campaign, but not make that decision to invest directly at that point. So this is a great way to continue to engage people that we know are interested, but are just kind of sitting on the fence. Campaign perks. So this is something kind of similar to the Kickstarter feel, where you're able to set various levels, like maybe 500, 1,000, 5,000, and provide some type of perk to the investors that invest at those levels. We've seen that a lot of people come to the campaign page, they are interested in investing, but something like the campaign perks can really drive somebody to invest a larger amount than they originally had intended. There are a lot of things that you can do that are cost effective, kind of easy for you to execute. The last thing we want is for this to be really complicated and becoming another full-time job on top of fundraising and running your business. So we have a lot of best practices for that, but this can be a great way to convert investors. And then investor education. So this is something that is really important. And I think we all want to do our part to make sure that investors feel comfortable with this process, especially people that are in your network that haven't invested in something like this before. So Republic has a lot of great content. Rain will be hosting events as well to just explain this and make sure that everyone feels comfortable and has all the information that they need to move forward with investing and supporting these businesses. So I picked this campaign. It's a recent campaign that's live on Republic right now, Prep to Your Door. And we'll just show you an example of a campaign video. So normally we suggest 2 to 3 minutes, just having a little FaceTime with the owners, with the team, with anybody that you think is really relevant to the message that you're trying to get across, and your growth plans and your fundraising needs, and really why you're tapping into into the crowd, and why you'd like to raise funds from your customers and from your community. I'll play this here. Can everyone see that? Let me make this big screen. All right. Hopefully the sound comes. Good.
Prep to Your Door is a zero-waste meal delivery service that's good for you and the planet.
Across the nation, our food is lacking nutrients, our people are getting sicker, and our planet is facing environmental degradation like none other. This is largely due to the way that we farm, buy, and interact with our food.
Enter Prep to Your Door, we're here to change that by delivering delicious plant-based meals in reusable jars that are picked up and sanitized every single week. Our business facilitates a closed-loop system that's good for humans and the planet.
Here's how it works. First, you'll subscribe on our website. You'll set your delivery date and receive non-contact delivery to your doorstep inside reusable glass jars in a returnable bag. Your bag is filled with prepared meals and premium grocery items that you personally pick based off of the seasonal and rotating menu.
After you've enjoyed your Prep to Your Door meals, collect all the packaging, leave it on your doorstep in your bag, and our team will pick it up upon your next delivery. Prep to Your Door brings all of the packaging back to our facility, where we soak, scrub, and sanitize every single jar to be used in next week's delivery.
Since 2018, we've grown from just 2 co-founders in a studio apartment to a team of 30 in our own facility. In 2020 alone, we served over 77,000 meals using only 3,900 reusable jars. This saved 175,000 pieces of plastic from the landfill.
We've done this without any outside investment to date, so imagine what we could do with your help.
Your investment in Prep to Your Door will go directly into enhancing our core technology and fueling our expansion, starting with Texas. We are growing a company that represents the change that we want to see in our food systems. And by you investing in Prep to Your Door, you get to be a part of that change for a more sustainable future.
Okay. So, and this is just a screenshot of the campaign page. I think you can see a lot of great examples on republic.co, and we'll definitely have some more tools as you get started in the onboarding process and really building out your campaign page. But what's nice is that our process really walks you through the entire thing. So a lot of these pages look like they've worked with professional marketing teams and all of that, but it's really nice because this is a big mix of what the company has on hand, what they're preparing especially for the campaign, and how our tools kind of bring it all together. And Rain will definitely be supporting you in that as well.
All right. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Hi, my name is Rick, and I am the Director of Capital Access. And thank you so much, Michaela. This is really great, very informative. My little piece is this slide where we are really going to have to take compliance very seriously, because this whole process has a lot to do with investment vehicles. And RAIN is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So there are things we can do, and we'll do everything we can, and there are things we cannot do. So let's start with the good news. We can educate participants via webinars, workshops, the best way to present their opportunities for investment. And this would be a great example of such a vehicle. We can also provide tools to analyze and effectively present pitch decks, business plans, opportunity analysis, and cash flow. We can prepare participants. We can make introductions to investors and to innovation networks, entrepreneurial ecosystems, mentors, and other valuable resources. We are an innovation network, so that's what we're all about at RAIN. We can assist participants in gaining visibility with investors via RAIN's Capital Access platform and help you rally the crowd. That's what this is really all about, is like the visibility that Oregon entrepreneurs need in order to attract optimal investors. The things we cannot do is we cannot guarantee outcomes for participants or make any promises of success from the use of our programs or the Capital Access platform. We also cannot specifically promote any participant deals to investors, nothing specific. RAIN will never be an investor as in participant deals as an organization. However, individuals who work for RAIN can invest personally in deals. RAIN is also prohibited from sharing any individual company's data. We will report anonymously in aggregate only. So we will never spill the beans. And I know that there are some great resources that Republic provides, and Alex, who is on the call, provided a compliance guide for me to take a look at today, and I'm hoping we're going to be able to share that with you. I think it'll be very helpful. Back to you.
Oops, I hit a button. Okay, sorry about that. Trying to hit unmute there, sorry. Oops.
Yeah, so I think we're coming down. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say it couldn't go perfect. There had to be one little technical thing here.
No worries.
All right, here we go.
So I guess I'll take this since I'm yakking here. We'd really love for you guys to take the RAIN intake form. It's a survey. Here is the URL. It's also being posted now in the chat. and or it's supposed to be. I'll get it up there soon. And we can reach back out to you and to talk to you about next steps, and be delighted to do that. So without further ado, there we go. That's the SurveyMonkey link. You might want to open that before our webinar is done so that you have that. And we'd really love you to fill it out. Tell us a lot of great stuff about you.
Caroline, did you want to take this one or?
Sure. Yeah, I'll take this one. So we've been getting a lot of questions just about like the actual step-by-step process. This is sort of rolled up. There's clearly many steps that go below each one. But the first thing is learning. So you're going to do learning, building, rallying, and promoting. And then of course, within promoting, raising, right? Hopefully. So within the learning area, you're doing it. You're attending webinars just like this. You can submit that application link that we just put in the chat that Rick just mentioned. That's our intake form, so that we can put you into our formal process and get you going. There's already a few of you on this call we're already working with. So those of you that we're already working with, you don't need to complete the intake form. And then setting up time to meet with various RAIN team members. Next, it's moving into fine-tuning your deal. And this is where we're really going to help you determine whether or not you're ready, whether you're a good candidate to raise from the crowd, and also that all of those due diligence items that Michaela had mentioned, that we're going to work with you to make sure that we're handing off a good deal. So then once we hand you off, you can see to the right, it says if no or if yes. RAIN doesn't decide on whether or not you get accepted onto even our own custom platform. We are not allowed to do that. The Republic team will do that. This is what they do. This is what their expertise is. If it's no, it's usually, I like to say, it means, like no, not now, or here are the things that you need to fix. And then you loop back to working with us to see if we can kind of remove some of those barriers and help you clear up your deal or whatever it is that you need to do, if in fact you're going to be a good candidate. If yes, you move into the rallying, we start gathering and forming your crowd. RAIN will help, as Michaela mentioned earlier. We're going to be actually coming into your the communities that are within the counties that are mentioned in our EDA grant, which is Lane, Lynn, Benton, and Grant counties. The cities there to help you find and rally your crowd and host educational events for potential investors. And then promoting, getting your video ready, engaging the crowd, promoting your deal, raising your funds, and ultimately growing your business. I mean, that's why we're all here, so that we can do this. So any questions about the process that we have going so far? So let's see, Adrian, already working with, that includes We Raindrop folks. No, this is folks who have been working with Rick on the capital access side. So great question, Adrian. You would still need to fill out the SurveyMonkey intake form. Any other questions about the process and working with us? Is a blanket lien a requirement to participate in this program? Michaela, yes, you want to take that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is specific to debt. So if you are considering a debt fundraise, that would be a requirement in most cases. I think if there's, and I don't think I mentioned this verbally, it should be on the slide, but we can be second position if you had an SBA loan or another commercial bank loan or something that needed that first position, we can be behind it. It's just something that investors do like to see.
Yeah, and you did have that on your slide, Michaela, but yes, just for the debt, not for the equity side. Good question. Any other questions about this process? And then, because the next slide will show you the timeline that Republic has once you're actually accepted and on the platform.
Yep, okay, here we go. So, and so I think, and obviously this is just kind of the piece of our typical process, and RAIN mentioned their involvement in various steps like before, after, and during. So keep that in mind, but typically the diligence process and approval is about 1 week. We have a campaign agreement that will be sent and signed, and then onboarding. Companies can onboard, which means preparing the campaign. There are additional steps in actually going for a full live campaign, but one thing that I want to mention with RAIN's platform and Republic in general, you can do what we call a testing the waters campaign prior to the full standard regulation crowdfunding campaign. And what that means is testing the waters. You can prepare your pitch, prepare your campaign page, have everything ready to go, and basically just collect interest. So you can promote this page, and investors that are coming to RAIN's page will see the campaign is there and live, but it's accepting reservations versus accepting real investments. So that's a great option. The big difference is if you decide to go for the full campaign and everything's ready to go, you would basically have a couple extra steps, like working with an independent CPA to prepare reviewed financials, and working with an attorney to prepare your Form C filing, which is basically an SEC FINRA requirement where you're going to be filing the documentation for your securities offering. So those are some extra steps. That's some potentially additional costs up front, and you know, the timeline can move based on whether you want to do the testing the waters first or just go for it. And then the campaign, oh yeah.
Real quick, there's a good question from Kathy. Is this like a rolling timeline, or is this open all year? Is this constantly running?
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, this would be if you wanted to get started on a campaign and you were submitting everything, all the stars aligned, and you know, we were ready to go, this would be the kind of standard timeline for any individual company at any given time. So the, you know, 3 to 6 weeks of preparing your campaign, keeping the campaign live 4 to 12 weeks. This is just an estimate based on, you know, an average amount raised of, let's say that 250 to 500. Companies can keep their campaign open longer. You may want to do that testing the waters first, so that would, you know, shift the real campaign being live timeline. But does that answer your question, Kathy? Hopefully. Let me know if you have any others. And then after that, then the campaign would close and funds are dispersed. And that obviously is just really relative to the process. We want to make sure once the campaign is closing, we go through our checks to make sure all the funds that were submitted to escrow are cleared, and the investors are cleared, and all of that. So the post-close process can take a couple of weeks, just depending on how smooth everything goes during that. Perfect. And Richard asked a question just about the difference between common and preferred equity. I think that's a great question. This really just depends on your company, on the specifics. I think a lot of times you will see common equity, and that's completely fine. Preferred equity is more common, is more, I guess, utilized with companies that want to make distributions or intend to make distributions out to investors, but you can do that with common as well. I think one thing that's nice about preferred equity, just depending, sometimes you'll have the founders and the you know, the company has that common, and then investors have that preferred, so that they have that preferred status in the you know, in order of liquidation. So if the company has that liquidity event or exit, the preferred investors receive distributions or shares first. So that's one nice thing for investors, but it's not required. I think if everyone's going to be at common, and that's the way that your organization is set up, then it can function the same as well. And I think we can provide some more educational materials on that, but it definitely ties into the way that your organization is structured in the formation documents. I don't know if Rick or Caroline, if you have anything to add to that.
That's all I was asking. I was just curious, what was the difference between those two things?
That was perfect. Okay, good. Kathy, yes. So the amount invested can be really small. This is one of the best things about crowdfunding. So basically, anybody can invest. Typically, we start the minimums as low as $50. You'll see $100, $200, just depending on the campaign. But it makes it really accessible to everybody. I think, very approachable, and that's where those campaign perks and other things can come in. Once somebody's on your page, they're like, okay, I can invest as little as $50, but if I do 500, then maybe I get a discount, or, if I'm at 1,000, I get something else. So there's a lot of different things that you can use to encourage that additional investment, but it's really nice to have that low approachable number for everybody to participate. And another thing that's nice about that, anybody can invest in regulation crowdfunding up to $2,200 per 12-month period, I believe is the number. If they submit their net worth or annual income, we can help them calculate the percentage that they're allowed to invest, which would be greater than that 2,200. If they're an accredited investor, they're allowed to invest unlimited amount. So people are able to come in at any level that's within their allotted amount. And, having it as low as $50 is really nice, because somebody might only have $100 or $200 left in their allotted amount, or, just gives more options to more people being able to invest.
You want to stop the screen share, Michaela, and then that way we can all see each other more easily and start a conversation. Thank you, Michaela. That was really helpful. We really appreciate it. And I know there's a lot more to learn, and everybody's deal is structured a little differently, but the about 6 or 7 companies that we're working with right now are looking really good and are very coachable and doing all the right things to get their numbers squared away, or their market position, getting letters of intent signed by potential investors and product or not investors, by potential customers, which is really great. So would really just like to open it up. You guys can unmute yourself if you have a question, or you can raise your hand if you want to be called on, or you can also post it in the chat. And remember, if your preference is to speak or type in Spanish, please do. We have Anna on the team who can help translate your question for Michaela. Yeah, Kathy, go ahead. And then Richard.
Is this way of crowdfunding rare enough that investors would be attracted to it, like, even a couple months from now when they find out it's happening? Is this like, when you talk about the rolling timeline, the rolling opportunity, so are there going to be fresh investors coming through? Yeah, that's my question.
Part of that, I'll answer, and then Michaela, you can chime in. Part of that is going to be up to you and us to help you rally the crowd. So ways that we will help do that in the counties and cities that I mentioned earlier, in counties that I did not mention, because I know, Kathy, you're not in one of those counties, we could still do rallying the crowd through virtual meetings with potential investors. So you could ask friends and family, you can say, hey, we're going to do this 1-hour presentation on my company. And this is why I think the Test the Waters is a great thing, because you could actually show what your campaign looks like and say, here's what we look like, here's what we're planning on doing, and be able to say, yeah, once that's live, I'd love to put some funding in, and we can help sort of filter through, well, how much money are people thinking? Are they thinking of $50, or are they thinking of 10,000, or somewhere in between, right? And
they can mark that too in the process,
right,
to reserve, let's say.
Great. Yeah. Oh, the investors can do that.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah. Whenever they indicate the interest, they can put that amount. And obviously, you take it with a grain of salt, but we've seen pretty strong stats so far from that conversion.
Cool. That's great. So yeah, does that help answer your question, Kathy? Okay.
And I would just add, oh, yeah, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, so across the planet, is this a rare offering? Does that make sense? I don't mean the items that entrepreneurs are bringing, but I'm talking about your platform, Republican Rain.
I see. Yeah, well, Republic's been around. Go ahead, I'll let you guys answer, chime in on that. How long you've been doing this?
Yeah, so we just had our 5th birthday, so it's still really new. I mean, relative to a lot of other things. So I think, crowdfunding itself is new. I think the evolution to true investment crowdfunding is still new. I think if you're on you're in like New York or California, where there's a little bit more of these startup hubs and ecosystems, it might be a little bit more familiar, but still, I mean, I'm in Texas and I talk to people all the time and I tell them what my job is and what I do. And then I have a conversation with them in a month and they act like they've never heard this and they still haven't done it. So I think it is really new and it's exciting but people love it. And I think that I think that every single company that fundraises through something like this is an opportunity to get that next person to consider, exploring it further. And I was just going to say, with more investors coming in, what's really cool is that every single company that launches brings their own network, and then they get on the site to look at that specific company, but then they see other companies. So it's a very cool environment for I think both parties.
And we will be educating people about what this is and how it's different than Kickstarter. And so that way, when investors come on board, they understand what they're getting themselves into, as opposed to being surprised as they're just signing up. Yeah. Okay, Richard.
This may have been mentioned already, but I don't think we know of a collaboration of this kind going on in the United States right now with a major platform and the type of organization that RAIN is, in order to pursue some really great mission goals for providing higher visibility for rural entrepreneurs. So I think that may be part of the.
I agree.
Yeah, good point, Rick.
Yeah.
Okay, Richard, you had a question?
Awesome. Information.
Richard, you're really choppy. We can't hear you. I think you'll need to type it in the chat.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. Was he choppy for other people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure it wasn't just me. While Richard is doing that, there's a question from Aaron. Like with Kickstarter, is there a best time of year to run a campaign? What's the average number of backers and the average amount backed?
Yeah, so I guess I haven't heard that if Kickstarter says there's a best time of the year. I think what we have not experienced much seasonality. This is something that comes up a lot, and we're always looking into it just to take that into account. But we have not really experienced that. I think you want to be sensitive to holidays and weekends and things like that. But in some cases, business owners feel really fine with it because they are going to take it to their own network, and their own network's ready to come, invest on a Saturday or whenever they get that notification. And then we roll it out to investors. We're strategic on when we send our announcement to investors. And I think, RAIN will be sensitive to that as well. But ideally, maybe not before Christmas or something, but the week before, we haven't seen any issues, or the week after. So I think people are excited to see these types of opportunities, and they know that they can go quick, and you kind of drive that sense of urgency in your marketing and messaging, because then people feel compelled to participate sooner rather than later.
What about average number of backers? Do you guys have any data on that? And that might vary per industry, per location, and what amount is sort of the average raise?
Yeah, so I think our average was closer to 500 the last time I checked. As far as the number of investors, I would say it's definitely 500 plus. I think I don't know if Catherine or if anyone else on the call has a number off the top of their head, but I think I most commonly see like a lot of 1,000 investors in a campaign, and that might be closer to $1 million goal. But like, for example, this prep to your door, let's see what they
They had almost
I'll
500.
double check.
So
Yeah, and they were about like 300,000 raised. So
yeah. So if it's a half,
439 investors.
okay. If the average is a $500,000 raise and there's 500
1,000.
backers, that's like 1,000 a piece per investment. Now I know that a lot of you are not raising that much, at least this round, you're raising in that 50 to 250. But still, if you've got people putting in $50, $100, you can imagine you're going to need to rally a lot of friends and family and people in the community. But we want to help you make sure you have a good, diverse group. So for example, one company that will remain nameless that we're helping right now, they've already pre-identified a few investors at 10,000 each. And then they have some at 5,000 and I think one at 50. And so if you can pre-identify some people, even if it's pre-identifying 10 at 1,000 or 20 at 500 or something like that, that's people want to join the train that's going in the right direction and at the right speed. Like people all want to be a part of the winning team. So that's why I love this test the water piece, because you can pre-seed it with some folks who are interested. And then once it's approved and goes live, then you can actually have investors. Hopefully those folks convert.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that I think a lot of entrepreneurs that I talk to all the time, if they're fundraising on their own, they have to be really cautious of the number of investors that they take on. And so they do tend to have higher minimums, like 25,000 or more, just because it's a process to deal with all those individual investors. But they know that they have, 5 friends that would come in at 1,000 or 5,000 if that was something that they could manage on their own. So utilizing a platform is a really great way of just being able to widen the net and get more investors in.
A great question from Kathy is, if you go over that 2,200 minimum per year, do you have to be accredited?
No. So there is, I will find the exact breakdown, but I know if to go over 2,200 per year, you just have to like type in basically into our system, at least we'll ask you for your annual income and your net worth. And then it's a set percentage, either the greater of those two, and then it'll tell you how much you're able to invest. So so you are able to invest more than 2,200 non-accredited based on a certain percentage of your annual income or net worth. And if you are accredited, there's no limit. And the accredited is self-certified.
Yeah, so someone could go through the process and based on what they have for financials or assets or whatever, it'll come back and say, oh, you can invest 6,500
This much.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever the amount is, or you're accredited, you can put in as much as you want.
I can probably find a link. Yeah.
And just to clarify, I think you said the video 2 to 3 minutes is what you're shooting for on that, right? Nothing longer than that. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Exactly. Yeah. It's
Right.
always good to, if you're really making a video, get as much content as you can, and then just start to really whittle it down to get the stuff that you feel it will be most impressionable and most relevant to your pitch.
Now that video was kind of slick. Are there folks who raise capital that have more rough filmed videos? Even today, I know you could film with Loom or Zoom, or there's a lot of different ways, but it doesn't have to be perfect, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's one thing. I mean, I didn't mean to pick, and I think that one, it looks nice, but I feel like you can edit that out of, different content that you've already done for other projects and stuff. So it doesn't all have to be brand new from scratch, but we do also have other tools built into our system to where you can shoot a quick video, and Republic has some, backgrounds and different things that we can help you put together a basic video, which is absolutely great. And people just really do like a video. I think you want to have it a little quality, like a little good quality. Otherwise that might just, I don't know, you don't want to deter anybody from the quality of the business based on the quality of the video. So I think it's just something that we just are cautious about. But again, if you're thinking about $100,000 raise, and I mean, I think it's all relative to your goals and your specific project, but you certainly don't have to have super flashy video.
Yeah, and Alex is on, I believe she had stepped away and came back from the Republic team on the marketing side. We're talking with her about potentially putting like a Republic Rain marketing onboarding series together that would be like drip out to you guys in a campaign to help with that. We're also exploring some video resources for you guys to help you with the videos. So we're gonna, rally our own crowds to help you, so that we're all about reducing barriers to starting and raising capital. That's why we're doing this. Clearly, there's going to be some cost in this for you. And there is a question about what's the typical small business spend to get their project through the process, like on the video and so forth. You guys have information on that, not the percentage of the raise or anything like that, but just sort of getting it ready to go.
Yeah. So, so through the Republic process, I think, what it's obviously depending on the video. I know with some of the small businesses that we worked with before, we did have a vendor who would do a whole video with headshot and evergreen content for like $1,500 package or so. So I don't know what the average is, or if we had some special deal with that vendor, but that's just a number that I know off the top of my head. And the other expenses would be if you were to get ready for the full, standard raise where you're actually collecting true investments. You have to work with a CPA and an independent CPA and an attorney to prepare the Form C filing, which Republic has a network of vendors. We're working with Rain to potentially establish some that are directly in Oregon, which will be able to provide some hopefully preferred pricing and process. But that normally runs about $2,500 to $5,000 total, depending on the age of the company, depending on how much you're looking to raise, and just any additional complexities. But always looking to get that upfront cost as low as possible.
Yeah, and still way less than like when I raised for my 2 tech startups. It was 20, 25, 30,000 to get all the documentation and everything squared away. It's not going to be anywhere near that amount for you guys. And we are going to have reduced fees as a result. We'll share more about what those specifics are at a future time. But the Republic team has been incredible to work with, you guys, just so you know. We vetted many other platforms, and this is the platform that we felt most comfortable with. And not only because of their track record, but their team. As I said earlier, investors say we invest in people first and products and ideas second. And this team has been an all-star team. We've got Michaela and Catherine and Alex on right now, but there's other folks behind the scenes, and we're really excited to be the first, right? And so we appreciate you guys, your patience through this process, the growing pains we're gonna have, but you guys are pioneering this with us, which is really cool. And we're excited to see where it goes and hopefully help you fill your capital gap. And I know most of you, and many of you have not been able to get venture funds. You've tried many, many times. And I see Kathy shaking her head. And many of you are like, forget the traditional bank loan. I'm not putting my house and my mortgage up and my first 3 kids and whatever. Yeah. So this is a viable option, but it is going to take hustle. You guys all have hustle, or you wouldn't be on this call, right? You wouldn't be an entrepreneur, but it's going to take some hustle to rally the crowd. And that's what we really want to help you guys with, both rallying the crowd and getting your deal fine-tuned so that we can make sure that we're handing off good deals to Republic, and they say that yes in that process. You want to offer up your 19-year-old? All right, Kathy, we'll talk later. We could use some more interns. We could use some more interns for sure.
Me too.
Any other questions, you guys? Oh, Adrienne, you have your hand up.
I do. So I'm thinking of a funding strategy that incorporates a lot of different type of funding. but I don't know how to necessarily, I don't know how to execute on it. So, you know, I'm used to going and raising funds and then putting it into a business, or let's do a crowdfunding campaign to get this product out there and that. But I'm looking for an overarching strategy where this might be one to fund our operations and how the business works, and then combine it with a timeline of crowdfunding here or friends and family here, et cetera. Is that something that the RAIN team will work with us on?
Yeah, we'll help you think through your strategy for sure. So your first step is fill out that intake form and answer those questions, and then we can set up times to meet with you. We really want to make sure, one of the things that not just in this process, but having, as I mentioned, raised money myself, but also helped many startups raise capital and mentored hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs. And I used to judge business plan competitions for Harvard and Stanford and Notre Dame and all of those biggies. They still struggle with their financials, right? So if you're struggling with your financials and a Harvard MBA is struggling with their financials, don't feel so bad. I mean, I've looked at plans where there's like 10% of their budget is marketing and they're a software as a service. And I'm like, no, it's got to be like 30-40%. Right. And so you guys aren't alone in this. This is if doing this was easy, everybody would do it. And it's not, right? You guys are the ones taking the risk. You're the one doing the hard work. You're the one sharing your vision and your passion. And so everybody on our team is an entrepreneur. We have the same passion. So we realize that everybody has limitations. And as long as you're willing to hear what those limitations are in a respectful way and work around those or work through those, then we're going to show up for you 100%.
Yeah, you know, I would just add, if I could, that as you are seeking funding for your company, you're launching, you're going through various growth stages, probably nothing changes more than the numbers. And because you're constantly getting new information, you're constantly making changes like, oh, I guess we're going to buy this, or no, we're not going to buy that until 5 years from now. So the numbers change a great deal. I guess what I would say is that a question to Michaela, how important are the pro forma financial projections in terms of the consideration for readiness for the Republic platform? Because it is something that is both art and science to do. And some people are good at it and some are not, and it can be completely outdated very quickly. How do you guys look at pro forma financials in your consideration?
Yeah, I think it's very much dependent on the type of the business. So for example, if you are wanting to open up a new bar or a brewery or something, and especially if you're considering debt, it's pretty critical piece of the puzzle, because that's really what we're going to be basing your payback schedule for a debt, or even, you know, if you're looking at equity, preferred equity, and just understanding your assumptions, understanding your sources and uses for a brick and mortar type project like that, it's critical. But on the other hand, if you're talking about a software company or something that's, especially in the earlier stages from the revenue standpoint, I think it's good to know at the high level, and at least for, you know, years 1 through 3, I think anything past that's just impossible to predict. But yeah, I think in terms of your pitch deck and your growth plans and what you're selling to investors, it's nice to have that high level plan, but totally understand that changes from day to day. And yeah, we're as you move forward in the process, in some cases, you might start this and have every intention to move forward right away, but things come up, things are delayed, and maybe it's 2 months before you get ready to do your campaign page, things have changed. Like, there's a lot of flexibility with that process, and we want to make sure that you know, everything is still accurate and relevant to you once you're in that campaign preparation point.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Jim's posted a question. I see founders are from various Oregon communities. Could you touch on the network of advisors, please, the founders could connect with from RAIN or other networks? Yeah, absolutely. So we're connected to multiple mentor networks around the state. There's some really great advisors at the SBDCs as well around the state. So if we just need to know what kind of advising you're looking for. And obviously with virtual, it really doesn't matter where you live. We can just connect you with mentors regardless of geography. But yeah, Jim, you can reach out to Rick on our team who's here. Rick, let me put your email in the chat. But if you want to do the fundraising route, don't just reach out to Rick first. Go through the intake form. That's the way, that's the preferred way for us to follow our process that we've got going. You're welcome, Samantha. Thanks for showing up. Any other questions for the Republic or the RAIN team? Who's ready to raise money? Show a thumbs up. Awesome.
Great to see.
All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions, we will be posting this to YouTube if anybody wants to go back and recap some pieces, or if you have questions, again, reach out to us. We're thrilled about this project. We're excited to be launching very soon here. Next month is the goal, November. And we're excited to help you guys, get over these barriers, fill this capital gap, and help you launch and grow your business. So thank you all. Thank you, Republic team. And it's awesome to see everybody. We'll be talking again soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.